Welcome to CSM Practice, the podcast that brings you real world strategies and tactical advice related to building your customer success teams and practices within your business. I'm your host, Irit Eizips. If you're a business leader that's looking into developing your own customer success team, or you have a very reactive team and you're looking to solve that to create a proactive, high performing team, hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll tell you all about the Customer Method Academy, which is a hybrid program where I do live coaching as well as give you all the strategies and templates to be able to build your customer success practice without second guessing yourself and with all the templates, frameworks, and like I said, live coaching that you need to do that with confidence. And today we have a special guest joining us. His name is Addie Batson and is the 2025 Top Creative Leaders. That was a competition that was done by Ever After. He's going to showcase what did he win this nomination for. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be on the show and to learn and talk and just basically walk through some of those experiences with Ever After this year.
You've been named top 2025 most creative leaders in CS. Tell us about your CSM team. How big is it? What kind of engagement model do you currently have or had when you were doing your initiative?
During at CX, we were basically a small, mighty, agile team. We have a lot of engagement, have some great customers, but we're small and mighty. So overall, our CS foundation was just about a team of 6 individuals as core CSMs. Outside of that, we had some few account managers. And then, of course, as well, our build or kind of our coordination team more or less does implementation for some of our customers. But the one thing at CX I must allude to is that we were very much called customer experience. So CX is at the core of all that what we do, how we engage with our customers, how we take their feedback, how we build our products, but most importantly, how we see our organization as one that is led and leveraged by our customers and one that wants to make sure that we're doing the best by our customers at all times and what we have. So definitely that's kind of where I see CX, and that's kind of how we operate as an overall kind of CX model at the moment.
So, who are your customers? Are they like big, large enterprises, or do you have a lot that are like small mom and pop shops?
So CX is very, very unique where our customers are all Fortune 200 organizations or higher. When I say some of the name brands that we work with that are open in public, I would say are anywhere from Lenovo's to Walmart's to PepsiCo's. I will say we mostly work with Fortune 200 organizations at the larger enterprise level, anywhere with companies with 5,000 or more employees at the very least.
I usually find that when people win an award, they solve for a specific challenge. What were the problems or the challenges that prompted you to actually implement this creative solution?
When it came down to a lot of our customers specifically, we built a white labeled basically engagement enterprise solution for individuals, organizations, and all of their employees. Great software, great utility, great product. Where we find some gaps was a lot of our customers didn't have the resources to actually create solid foundational branding and engagement products to lead to a successful launch of their application. More or less, when you're launching an enterprise application, it's to hundreds of thousands of people across multiple regions, and in our case, across multiple locations across the globe. And we wanted to think about a centralized way to create the same brand recognition as our companies that we associate with while developing this new application and being able to deploy it to different regions from the APAC to the EMEAs all the way through to AIRs as well. So we had to think about an easy way to scale our product engagement, create very unified launches, at the same time touching into the overall business aesthetic, brand tone, and voice while using our white label solution, which isn't the easiest thing, but we wanted to figure out how we could do that at scale and for all of our customers in a very easy, simple manner.
If you didn't do anything about it, what would happen 2, 3, 4 years down the road to the business?
Yeah, I don't think the business would have existed, to be completely honest. To some capacity, a big anchor for us, and especially when you're leveraging a small team with some of these global header brands who insert name of brand name, we expect X, Y, and Z. You have to be able to manage and leverage up to that level, knowing that, again, you don't have that same bandwidth or the employee base or the resource base. At the same time, be able to get that buy-in from setting expectations for some of these larger enterprise brands. So there's a mixture of knowing that we're a smaller agile team in an organization, but we're providing a great product. And we want to make sure that we're kind of activating and working towards our how those brands expect us to, especially with those kind of engagements and expectations around kind of the contracts that we're signing over. So it was a mixture of making sure that we could support and help them at the same time working agilely, at the same time thinking about how do we do these things in an easy, scalable manner across our entire customer mix.
I'm all curious because I think this is an issue that a lot of companies have. Maybe that not a launch to 200,000 employees and users, but even if it's like 50 or 100, the problem still exists and everybody wants to do it in a scalable way. So I'm all ears. What were the processes and tools that you used to solve for this?
So we like to say that, at least within our CX context at that time, what it created was called the HiLab program. But think of it as a hybrid launch and activation product program. Within this package, there are a variety of more or less, you could say, templatized launching pieces or materials. This included general use case videos, quick guides, how-to models, and then, of course, more or less a general content package, which our specific customers could either buy into if they wanted to in support of their launch and activation. What was unique, at least from our perspective, is we kind of created about 10 different overall kind of template structures and styles, which customers could basically review. And then, of course, there might modifications they can make to align with their branding and content. So let's say you picked a specific package that would have several email templates, a couple how-to videos, a knowledge base, a smart QR code to access the specific application, and a visual digital knowledge guide as well. Those could range from anywhere of having one or two assets to larger packages, which included 20 to 30 of them. And the whole intention was that we basically pre-display these with our customers while they were going through the initial onboarding phase to know that, hey there, we're here to help you actively successfully launch your new application to your entire user base or employee base, which again was going from anywhere from 5,000 to some of our larger brands, which were 100,000 across the entire planet. But of course, we added specific translation services, different front iterations in terms of voice and brand, depending on what's associated with their brand. And then to make sure that we could put this all together, we made a general, basically, landing page or a digital Google site. Now, initially, when you put it together and you visualize it, customers loved it because it was like, oh, this is exactly what I need. You have all the things I was thinking about, and you thought about how do we successfully launch your application, which for most of our customers was net new in terms of this hybrid work experience where individuals would have a workplace app, they could use it at home or in the office or on their way. But I was thinking about how do you curate and support that? And the reality was, what was great for us is the ROI was incredible because for the most part, we were using freemium tools like Google Sites, Canva, CapCut, and a lot of those simple tools that you can find in the stores. But the best way to think about it was we had to be creative, using as little resources as we could with our agile team at the same time, thinking about how we support our enterprise clients at scale. So great ROI in terms of the value and the time that we had to actually create these assets and packages versus how much we're actually getting a return back from our customers who absolutely love the programming.
Do you think this kind of program is something that any customer success team can do regardless of the application? Or is this something you would definitely recommend for something that should be like a PLG, product led growth, like something that you could be like a self starter, you could self onboard?
Absolutely. Even though we're moving to the world of self onboarding and very much automated kind of engagement models, AI has been helping individuals understand how to use an application out the gate. I always recommend that if you have a client and you are launching something with them, it's always a great CS selling point to have some nuances based on their user behavior, based on their identity, based on their brand, and based on how their social organization works. It's those little touch points and little tidbits of I understand you, not just as a partner within our relationship, but as if I was working with you from your organization lens. And that can be something as small as a little video micro greeting or walking them through their platform and kind of making content for them based on how they operate, or even working within their specific tools or communication channels. But I always find that it adds a little bit of personalization that I can always anchors into a better relationship. And when we're in the age of so many different applications, so many different tools. The competitive market has expanded so much more. Any little nuance of kind of showing that you're in tune with that organization, that brand, and you're making some content that's nurtured to that brand, they'll always help kind of anchor it forward. But most importantly, you're potentially reduce future churn or reduce the overall competitive lens, which I found has helped us. So I always recommend it if you have an opportunity, definitely do it if you can.
Can you give me examples on how you personalize it? Like I totally get it's scalable because every enterprise have lots of end users. So obviously whatever you do, is going to be serving all of those end users, but you still have fewer accounts. So that's where the personalization makes sense, I suppose. Can you give me examples of how you literally personalize something? Like, how did you scale that? Because personalization, that's a lot of work.
It was. So luckily for us, there's two prongs to our part of it is having a very clear and concise onboarding and activation program and package. And I think a lot of organizations, if there's something that you can do ahead of time, it's always have a clear journey of where do you expect every single touch point to happen with the customer, even though it's not going to always fit exactly into that road, at least having those clear points. Within our model, one of the first things that we did is actually got our customers branding package and association and brand voice. That helped us understand and identify, okay, who are we working with? What is important to them? And how do we communicate with this organization? From being able to do that at basically 2 weeks in our initial engagement and activation process, first kind of sales handover, I understood here are the core areas we need to focus on. Here are the colors and themes and kind of tonality that we can expect. And that would help actually curate one or two sample pieces of content that would then anchor the customer into being like, I can see the vision. I can see how I can use this quick guide or the specific itemized one pager into our larger launch strategy. That helped anchor in that overall kind of initial engagement. But I think it comes down to pre-planning, having kind of set those expectations ahead of time and getting as much critical information as you can beforehand. It helps with our model because, again, we are a white labeled application, but there's going to be those times and spaces where here you have 50 accounts on your board, you have multiple kind of engagements, you have to think about your entire customer base, and it may not be that easy. But one thing I always recommend, if there's an opportunity or a nuance, that every customer will have that one thing that they have in common. If there's a way for you to anchor into that, definitely need to into it. If there's a here's our top 10 FAQ questions, I know it's a no-brainer, but sometimes you don't have that. Have that pre-prepared for all of your initial customers. If there's a talking track of best practices that you have from customers after 90 days, have that preemptualized and let your customers know ahead of time, hey there, by date 90, you can expect X, Y, and Z because of the behaviors that we've seen from companies A, B, and C who've already gone through this process. And trying to anchor those tidbits as well as you possibly can and earlier than later. And I found that that might be an easier, simple way to kind of add that in. But and it's CS one kind of no-brainer, but something I could always recommend moving forward with any kind of customer that you have.
Cool. Yeah. Well, here's what I'm getting. If I'm the head of CS, I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Even if I have a complex software that I need to implement, I can always think about the two, three key use cases that I'd like customers to start with, and then think, what do I usually ask them to create from scratch? And can I even like have a folder with a bunch of examples, or can I templatize my ask? If I always ask for data, can I templatize that into a template and just give it to them with some examples to just make the process a lot easier, as much as done for you or examples of, to just facilitate the experience? I think that would be my first go to. And then what I'm also hearing is that then try to anticipate if you could lead the journey and sort of think, okay, what are the key steps or milestones or key moments of truth that I need them to walk through till the end goal, which is go live or my first project with you? What are the key things that I need them to do? Do I need the admin to be certified if it's a very complex thing? Or do I need them to set up certain things on their profile? What is it that I want you to do, Mr. Customer, to make sure that you're set up for success? Did I get that right?
Absolutely ballparked. Absolutely agree with you. I know it's easier said than done, but a lot of the times, most individuals, when they're working with any client or any product, it's, what are the expectations that I can get into? And even if you are not sure, even if you're building the plane in some capacity, sometimes having a very simple kind of outline, general framework, I find has always been super helpful. At least getting adoption, getting engagement, or at least alluding to questions that your customer might ask that you may not have prepared beforehand. But I fully agree with you on that one for sure.
Did you use AI for this at all? What kind of technology did you use?
We internally, just AI was something that we weren't exactly actively sure on for the most part. Again, just in terms of clarity, fidelity, safety, and privacy as well. But our overall thought was, how can we be as colorful and as creative as possible and very much visually led? So one simple thing that we had done for most of our clients was we created microsites, basically using Google Sites, basically had an overall template structure. In that microsite, you'd have general onboarding guide, a how-to best practice guides, all the templates that they could choose from beforehand, and then also a calendar meeting block as well. So if ever any of my customers needed to meet, they could basically go to their microsite. There'd be updates here, new products, new features, all of their basic materials that they need. And then, of course, if they need to book time with me, there's an open visual calendar that they could see as well. This was extremely important because A, it reduced all of the emails that most CMs are consistently getting. It was able to actually scale across their entire domain, keeping in mind for us, we had customers who had specific offices in the US, some in Canada, some in London, and also some in Australia that we had to make sure that they could see what was happening across the entire board. And if ever there was basically a net new location or new activation, new administrator, I go to copy, paste, change the name, change the title. There you go. And these are free active resources which anyone can basically utilize. And I think a big point that I always like to allude to, there's always so many options that you can use based on like the Google Suite or just tools that you can find for free online. Most of our content was built in Canva and then of course Adobe Firefly, simple copy and paste text and templates. Of course, you change colors and patterns depending on the client's needs, but just trying to think about that scrappy mindset of if I was a startup and in pre-seed, I have no resources, what would I do? And kind of keeping that mindset. And by doing that, we were able to create a lot of great content and a lot of great programming in a very easy, simple to use manner that, again, was very much scalable in that copy and paste manner that just about anyone could basically utilize and collateralize. And I think the proof point was when we did it for one large client, got some great success and engagement. It became a model that we were actually able to collateralize into net new revenue, which we would not perceive to initially, but it turned into a whole new programming. And it was important. It took none of the internal engineering or product or kind of a key marketing resource that we had internally. So that was a really great sell for us in terms of reduction in time, but also a great opportunity because it's a net new revenue stream, which came from templates and Canva, I'd like to say.
Wow, I love that. If somebody's listening here and they're not a Microsoft shop, obviously Google Sites is
Google
completely
Sites, yeah,
free
SharePoint,
without
any of those kind of spaces as well. Absolutely.
right. There's so many things. And if you're neither, then you have boards, which could be also like accessed from anybody's phone. There's so many options. Just the concept of like creating a microsite for the customer is the big aha moment for this interview, I feel like.
Absolutely. Even something that we do, you can take a Canva template, you can turn it HTML, have some widgets and buttons, just link your various pages together, and boom, there's a simple website that you have yourself.
Exactly. And then it's also easy to, okay, like copy paste that and then change the colors to your customer's brand and make it personalized and feel like you created it for them. What a great experience.
They genuinely like, wow, that's above and beyond. That's partnership. That's caring about our needs and at least showing that you do understand that overall organization. Because most of them, they live and breathe by their brand guidelines, especially at that enterprise level, but also for the organizations who are kind of mid-tier or even small mom and paws. It's really about kind of associating that larger brand, who they are and what they identify as. And if you can anchor into that, guarantee 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to kind of find great success as well.
Step number one, create a microsite branded to your customers, enterprise customers' colors, and then put all the, how did you call that?
High level, all of our success materials, whatever you want to call it, programming, packaging, content. At least SCX was very much for kind of that customized content versus going to a traditional Zendesk support site or space that does have a lot of information about the overall product, but isn't nuanced to the customer needs and configurations might be, which some individuals might argue depending on the product and the service or how you operate B2C or B2B. But I find that the more nuance you can apply, those little micro moments that will help, kind of anchor that relationship for sure.
I think that's an important point. So I want to highlight it. You might have a bank of knowledge based articles, examples, and templates, but when you build the microsite for your customer specific enterprise account, you can pick and choose which ones you feel like they should be focused on. So instead of overwhelming them with a knowledge base and like go fish for the right one, and hopefully you nail the right one, let me give you the ones that I would like you to focus on right now. And here's my calendar so you can quickly find time with me and just make it super easy for them. Okay, you talked about having a huge ROI on this. So to me, when somebody says that, that means that the effort of building your first minimal viable product, like the first version of it, wasn't like a big undertaking. And secondly, the impact was huge. So tell me a little bit. Can you quantify that for me a little bit?
I kind of put it in the program, but it was about 20,000x on ROI. And people are like, oh, that's impossible. But I won't kind of do the base math. Creating a general package, and again, coming from myself and some of the other members who are actively creative using these tools, took on average about 4 hours with our smallest package, taking into consideration my kind of, you could say basically hourly wage based on my salary. That was roughly just around $250. You could kind of package it with time, resources, etc. Knowing that we're using these freemium tools, we were able to basically sell one of those packages to one of our larger enterprise clients just over the 20K mark, to say more or less, in USD. So when you look at that, literally the time, the resources, it kind of expands. And that was just one of our more smaller based ones. Once we kind of productize the overall packaging, there are different package sizes. Hey, we offer this thing. Here's how we've done it with other client. They found success from it. And then from there is more or less, yes, we want this also copy and paste. But I think the most was the actual capacity of getting individuals onboarded, educated, and then most importantly, fully functional within our application ahead of time. So there are some key kind of overall metrics that we did kind of identify. First time to touch, overall engagement, active utility across their entire user base. So for one of our clients who sells soda pop in quotation marks, they basically had a launch site just under 5,000 individuals who were to have this application downloaded basically and utilized within the first month to do an activity. And we were able to get just about 80% of that population within the first 2 weeks, only because we had a full branding initiative. They had posters and content and videos and how-to guides across their entire overall kind of headquarters, which was super significant just because of their brand. But most importantly, they anchored and leaned into the overall packaging and programming because it engaged with who they were as an organization, as a historical kind of content figure and product figure in the world. Most importantly, what they found would resonate with their employee audience as they were bringing back their employees into work, into the office space. And it just landed well because we were not expecting those numbers, let alone from that point, after they had such a successful activation, they're like, hey, we want this too across other global sites. So what was to be basically a year-long activation in terms of key sites that were looking to launch the application ended up coming down to about 6 months. So we were able to get additional traction that we had not kind of proposed or expected to initially because we were able to have a great successful launch and get that initial adoption. Because we had all this programming and packaging beforehand, it was literally, again, like I mentioned, copy and paste the site, add a few updates and nuances depending on the language and tonality, and then of course making one or two image changes to some of the key content, like the activation posters, the QR codes, and just some of the general content in those information guides. But it was very much copy, paste, expand. That's kind of how I could see it, but extremely brilliant ROI from that packaging and programming.
It just daunted on me that you actually sold that. You packaged it and you sold it. You put a price sticker on it. I think if you haven't, obviously you wouldn't have generated tens of thousands of dollars in revenue to just sponsor this. But do you feel like the customer would have been as committed to working with you on using the package? Do you feel like it had a psychological impact?
I think it did because it's that moment of there's going to be some point of change management that has to be associated. We know change management is going to be always the biggest thing in adopting a new tool, new software, anything that's new, and especially in this weird age that we live in right now where is it AI? Is it not AI? How do we associate with where do we go with how we expand and get people comfortable with utilizing a tool and program? Because we made it very visual, because we made it very easy to understand, because we had laid everything out in spaces that were similar that people were accustomed to, like the Google Suite or SharePoint sites, or even just kind of the programming and content in itself and how we packaged it. That was something that really alluded to. And I think with any form of branding instance in CS, how you package yourselves, how you package your product, how you package your voice, your tone, I want to believe that's one of the best things that you can do in terms of trying to get adoption from anything. If you can make it very easy into simple steps, simple formats, even if you have a super complex tool and you have a very difficult or very nuanced ICP, the better that you can kind of standardize your packaging and programming, the better that you can create those journeys, the easier that you can make it for individuals to adopt your programming, 9 times out of 10, you'll be more successful. And that was what we kind of got was the sweet spot of, even if we weren't actively trying to package these things together, individuals saw value ahead of time. They could see it. This is going to be impactful. This is going to save a lot of my time as the representative from the other team's site. And it takes away from me having to go and curate resources or get someone from my marketing team or sending a drip email campaign that may or may not land well because we've been doing it with other clients. We're replicating a model that has been successful and they've been able to see that success from it directly. So it was, I think either which way they would have adopted it. And there are some customers who didn't, and some microforms as well.
Amazing ROI. A few hours in Canva turns into thousands of dollars in revenue. So that's always good. Adoption wins much faster to get end users adopting. And I would just assume that CSAT, like the customer satisfaction score, increased.
Not one customer who'd adopted this program had anything less than 8 on NPS, and then roughly about just under an 8.5 on their CSAT score. I think it's because we created this content that was set for them, that they could see the engagement, that their individuals who were nurturing this platform were like, I get it, I understand it, this is so easy. That was kind of set us apart. And I think that anchored into us having such a great kind of overall CSAT engagement. But most importantly, that because we put that time into being customer success for them, with their tone, with their success planning, with what they wanted to see out of the application. And that's really what kind of anchored us across. But yeah, those are some great scores that we had.
If I'm a head of CS, I want to improve end user adoption, increase customer satisfaction, get some revenues on the side, higher adoption, faster adoption. What are the 5 steps that I need to take in order to rock my world?
Number one, understand exactly what it is you're selling to your customer. What is the ideal outcome that you're looking for at the end of it? Number two, creating a great journey of how you get there, which I know sometimes can be easier said than done, but definitely have that. Number three, making sure that you understand exactly what success looks like internally for yourselves and for your customer, whether that's going to be growth, revenue, having them increase their growth or upsells, whatever that may be. Have a clear sight of that, and then put that into that program. Number two, be creative as possible. Look at different varieties of current engagement content, what works, what doesn't. See what other companies have done, which I know is you basically do, most CSs do in the ahead of time, but thinking about what specific content can I use to help curate, nurture, and engage them. And most importantly, just give it a try. I think 9 times out of 10, we spend so much time pre-programming, pre-planning, thinking about if this thing is going to work. But if you just try it, sometimes that idea, that creative thought that you might have can turn into success that you may not have anchored to. And I always say kind of be scrappy, give it a try. If it doesn't, learn and then reiterate and kind of move on from there. But always giving it a try is the most important thing. Yeah.
Any kind of books or resources that you like to read to make yourself a better leader, make yourself a better professional, or just better at CS?
I was going to pull up my list right now. Aside from the CS in Practice YouTube channel, which make sure you guys all follow, like, and link, Tony Hash's Customer Happiness. And the reason why I say that is Tony Hash used to be, rest in peace, he used to be the CEO of Zappos in California. And Zappos is just a crazy brand at the time. This is going back in like 2016, 2017. What I loved about him is Tony Hash put customer centricity to every single operation in that organization, from how their customers were to their products, to their engagement, to their life cycle. But the whole intention was, if you take the time to not just build a product, to not just build a space, but to think about what's going to make my customers feel happy at every touch point, whether they call the support reps, answer the phone, get an email, or just those random moments of happiness, like it's your birthday, we sent you a gift card, or hey, it's a random Tuesday, hope you're doing well. Just little things that can anchor that, wow, this organization, this brand cares about me in some way, shape, or form, or acknowledges me as a person. It's something that I've deeply appreciated, something that I've tried to bring into a lot of my CS practices, thinking about how do humans like to feel and acknowledge, and how you can help do that, and how you can do that through your product organization. You'll find some magic, you'll find some happiness, and by default, you'll likely find some great dollar bills and successes and ROI from those little pieces. But that would definitely be kind of my 2 go-tos for sure.
Thank you so much for coming in and highlighting how we can amplify the experience, not just for our key stakeholders, but also for our end users by using simple tools like Canva and SharePoint that comes in, or Google Sites that just comes in for free. And we could just lean into that to facilitate the experience for our customers, and how much we can win by that as well with a little bit of an extra effort.
That's all it takes sometimes. But thank you so much for having me today. It's been great to watch your series kind of expand and grow, and just to be able to be a part of like your history today. It's been so great. So thank you so much for having me.
If you love this podcast episode, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then, of course, reach out to Addie on LinkedIn if you want to hear more about this initiative and get a little bit more of shades of gray. I'm sure he'll be happy to share with you. And I'll see you on the next episode.